Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Foliage. So somebody had asked me for an update on the Heliconia. So again, the same issue, you all know what happened in between. That's why the Heliconia also had got damaged. I then moved the Heliconia in this large paint container. I have painted it black to make it look a little bit better. Because it was a very old container. Now the reason why I'm using such a big container, ideally we say that you need to have smaller pots for plants, but why am I using a very large pot for a Heliconia? The reason is because these are meant to be grown in a larger container. You cannot grow them in a very small container. But what I would say is, as soon as they start growing, put them in a larger container, because these plants prefer a lot of space. They usually tend to do quite well in ground, and a lot of times they do not do quite well in pots, especially if the pot is very small. So that's the reason why for this particular variety, whether it's Heliconia, whether it's birds of paradise, these all come under the same category. So they need a lot of space. Ideally they don't do quite well in pots. This is what I have got a mixed reaction from a lot of people, but I would say they would do well in larger pots compare it to the smaller pots. So if you have a Heliconia, let's say it has grown a couple of feet tall, immediately move it to a larger pot and it's going to do quite well. Now another important thing, apart from the larger container, the most important thing is that they need an even moisture in the soil. Apart from that, they need a lot of organic matter. You cannot afford to use fertilizers once a month or once in 2 months. That is not going to work out, because these are rigorous growing plants. Right now mine has not flowered, but it is going to get an orange flower on this. So I'll put up an image of how it looks from where I got it, because I had got it from another place. When I had visited my hometown, I had got it from there. I had basically taken few of the rhizomes along with some stem. Rhizome is very important because these are rhizomatic plants. They grow through rhizomes. You can easily get the rhizomes and put them into the soil. If the rhizomes have roots, that is much better. I would always suggest, if you are planning to get this, get the plant with rhizomes and few of the roots. That is going to work out really well. The plant will immediately catch up and start growing. Don't get cuttings from in between like this of the stem. This is not going to work out. Most probably, I'm not very sure, probably it might put roots, or probably it might start to dry out. So do not get this portion. You have to get the entire portion from beneath with the piece of rhizome. That is going to work out really well, because that's what I did. And you can see I have used a lot of tea leaves. Now this is around 2 inches of tea leaves. Every time I wash it and I put it in this, and ever since I have started adding this tea leaves, I have seen there has been a lot of new growth. This was the original plant that was growing before adding the tea leaves. Now after I started adding tea leaves, you can see these are the 2 new shoots that have come up. There is another one over here in the side. So this has been quite good. So I will be filling in more tea leaves, because you can see there is still a lot of space left. So rather than using any more soil, I'll be using tea leaves, because tea leaves is very, very nutritious and they need a very high organic soil in order to sustain. Currently I'm not using any compost tea for this, because it has been raining a lot. So only the tea leaves have been working out really well, and the growth has been amazing ever since I started adding tea leaves. So if you have a Heliconia and let's say it's not doing quite well, use some tea leaves. Depending upon how much of soil you have in your pot, you can add tea leaves, but ensure that you're washing the tea leaves, drying it out in the sun, and then using it. Otherwise there will be mold and fungus, so be extremely careful. Apart from that, whenever I have some extra soil, I just keep dumping it in between. You can see I dumped a little bit of soil over here because there is a little bit of weeds growing. The older, let me check if it is visible. You can see this is the older layer of the tea leaves. It is completely turned dark in color. It was brown, of course, but now I think it is kind of getting decomposed and it's turning brown in color. So I think tea leaves have been one of the best things that I've ever started using in the garden. Now another important thing about this plant is a lot of people are confused, including myself, that where should we place this plant. Now the confusion, or I would say the issue what I had, is when I put this plant out in a morning direct sunlight, it started to get burnt initially. And this is the reason where I made a mistake. I thought probably they don't like direct sunlight, and I moved it to indirect bright light, and there again the plant was not doing quite well. But then what I did is I again moved it back again to morning direct sunlight. So it gets morning direct sunlight until 11 a.m. After 11:30 a.m. it starts getting indirect bright light. It is protected from the afternoon sunlight. So the initial leaves did get burnt, as you can see. They did get burned, but now when the new leaves are coming up, I'm thinking that they are getting acclimated to the sunlight, because they prefer in nature or in the outdoors, they tend to grow under the canopy. They get filtered light or dappled sunlight. A lot of times they do not get the direct afternoon sunlight, because that will definitely burn the plant. Also, what I noticed is when the plant was in indirect bright light, the leaves were very lighter in color. Now, don't go according to this. This is a new leaf. But ideally what I'd noticed is even after the leaf had matured, it was very light in color, and that's when I realized that they need a good amount of light in order for them to have darker green colored leaves, because this plant should have darker green colored leaves. They cannot have light leaves, because always remember, the darker the leaves, the more the plant can participate in the process of photosynthesis. If the leaves are darker, the plant will be even more healthy. If it's going to have very light leaves, these are new leaves, don't go according to this, but if the leaves are very light in color, they will not be able to process much food. So that's why I realized that I have to offer it a good amount of direct sunlight. So ensure you're giving them direct sunlight. Please do not keep this plant indoor. Heliconias, birds of paradise, are not meant to be kept indoor. They will not do quite well. It is a flowering plant. It will start to put out flowers. So offer as much as morning direct sunlight as possible, but avoid the afternoon direct sunlight. So this is one variety that I have. This one tends to get really dark orange flowers, as you might have seen in the image. So that's the type of flowers it tends to get. And it tends to grow very, very dense. This is just the beginning. This entire pot, probably in another year's time, this entire thing is going to be completely clogged with this plant, because they are rhizome growing plants. They tend to push out the rhizomes everywhere. Probably if I'm going to dig it right now, I might find another 2 or 3 rhizomes already inside the soil. So it's a very fast growing, very rigorous growing plant. So you need to give it a good amount of space. I'll show you another one that I have. Now this one, this Heliconia that I have over here, this is being kept under the green shade cloth, and I don't think that it's doing quite well. This one has a light yellow colored flowers, like the ones that I just showed you. Those are the orange ones, but this one is going to be light yellow. But again, the shape of the flowers are going to be same. The only thing is the difference in color. This is going to have a light yellow in color. This one I had purchased and it was again not doing quite well, again because of the same issue of painting and all that stuff. But now it has started to do quite well. It has put out new leaves. These are the new leaves that are coming up. This was the oldest leaf. It had got damaged. I don't know for what reason, but it did get damaged. Again, in this soil, there is a lot of organic matter. There is soil, there is cocoa peat, there is sand for it to be well draining, because they prefer well draining, loose, porous soil mix. Yet it has to be very, very organic rich. They need a very organic rich soil, guys. Apart from that, there has to be an even moisture in the soil. If the moisture is little less, you can see this is what happens. The leaves will start to curl. The leaves are not supposed to curl. They are supposed to be open wide like this. You can see. But if they start to curl, it means that they are thirsty and they need water. So I have just done a watering, and it will start to open in some time. But you can see the new leaves are looking a little bit much better compared to what it was earlier. Again, this what I'm going to be doing is I will be repotting it very soon. Not now, probably after it grows another 1 inch. I will repot it because I do not want it to share the pot with this morning glory, and I will try to put it out in morning direct sunlight, because I think this indirect bright light is not working out really well. The growth is also very slow as compared to the other one, so I think I'll move it to morning direct sunlight until 11 a.m. So guys, that's all about it. It's a very easy to grow plant, provided you give the basic care requirements. The most important being the space. They do not like very tiny pots. Ensure you're giving a very large pot, and ensure you maintain a slight amount of moisture in the soil. At the same time, the soil has to be very organic rich. You can go with vermicompost, compost, whatever you have been using, organic fertilizers, you can go with that. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.